Hello again. First of all, I wanted to thank all those people who've commented on my videos because they've been a real inspiration for me to keep continuing with this. I know it's been a while since I've made my last video, but I had some good news today. The printed version of my book, Philosophizer, arrived in the post, and I'm very pleased with it. Anyone who's written something knows the feeling when you actually see your work in print. In my case, it's self-published, but Amazon have done a really excellent job. So I'll show you. That's it. Philosophizer. That's the back. That's just got a picture of me, a short bio, and a couple of quotes from people who read it. I was just wondering what to do for this video. I mean, I really hate YouTube videos where someone gets up in front of a camera and asks people to buy stuff, because I'm totally happy for people just to come here and enjoy the videos, and that's it. About 1% of you might consider taking a course with Pathways to Philosophy, and maybe one or two of you have bought the Kindle version of Philosophizer or the other 3 books I have on Amazon, which will be great, which is great, you know, but you absolutely don't need to. But I brought this print version out because there's an awful lot of people out there who either don't own Kindles or who just don't like the idea of owning, quote unquote, an electronic book. I mean, the whole idea just seems wrong. I mean, there's so much free stuff you can download on the internet. Why on earth should you pay to download something? But a printed book is different because it's something you own. It's something you look after. You take it with you. People can see what you're reading. I mean, when someone's looking at a Kindle, they could be reading anything. And it's a statement. You know, you're making a statement about yourself. So I have no idea, you know, what kind of person would want to read this. I'll just show you the cover again and just explain it. Okay, the title is Philosophizer, and the idea is I'm a new kind of a thing. I'm not a philosopher, I'm a philosophizer, which has previously been used in a bit of a kind of a negative, abusive sense, as someone who doesn't really know anything about philosophy, but just, makes all sorts of statements and claims. But I thought I'd reclaim it, in the way that, minorities reclaim words that have previously been abusive. I'm not actually going to use those words because if I did, I would actually be going over a line. But you know the kinds of words I'm talking about. So I'm a philosophizer. It's also the name of a beer, which I haven't tasted, but looking at the website, it looks quite nice. I'm sure it tastes delicious. So that's a free plug for that. But the other thing is, the picture is Socrates upside down, and a couple of arrows indicating that he's either been turned upside down or maybe I'm trying to turn it the right side up again. And it was actually Marx who claimed to have turned Hegel upside down. And that kind of a claim is not totally new to philosophy, but I'm basically saying in my book that I'm turning philosophy upside down. The whole thing, the whole shebang, everything. And I wrote in my blog recently that the whole 2,500 years of Western philosophy has been in a kind of a coma, because philosophers have lost sight of the ultimate question. And you know what the ultimate question is because I've talked about it often enough. Philosophers just don't, they think obviously it's insoluble, so let's just get on with something we can do. And that attitude is, to me, totally wrong. Okay, you can't solve it, it's very, very difficult, but you've got to keep trying, which is what I'm doing. And you don't know what kind of answer it's going to be. It could be something totally different from what you expected. I think that the answer is something to do with us. I think, as I wrote in a recent answer on Ask a Philosopher, there's something wrong with human beings. I don't mean, what can I say? Being human as such, there's something wrong with it. There's something that makes us, or forces us to philosophize in the way that one does. But, Western philosophy has just not got their hands on it. They haven't worked it out. And they've gone on doing something else. So anyway, what shall I do with this video? I'm going to, well, as I said, firstly, it's on Amazon. So you can buy this book if you want to. I would offer to sign copies if people send me the book they bought, and I'll sign it. Why not? Or if you sign up for a Pathways course, you can get a copy free. The full money is refunded. So I'm going to read a chapter of this. And it's this chapter will tell you a lot about the book. It's quite, in a way, the tone is quite nasty. And I can quite imagine a few people turning off the video now. But who cares? This is me. This is my book. So I wrote this, I started this chapter, Gulliver, I think it's the third chapter of my book, with a kind of a poem. Every so often I'm sort of inspired to write a kind of a poem. I'm totally not a poet. But anyway, this will tell you my attitude, I guess. I am Gulliver in the land of Lilliput, and you are the little people. Your squeaky boos and cheers are like the buzzing and chirping of insects. What kind of book is this? Who is it for? How about me in an alternate universe at the end of 1974? My father had given me Robert Pirsig's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance as a Christmas present. I'd asked for the book after seeing an article in one of the Sunday newspapers illustrated with a drawing of a mean-looking Harley Davidson. Pirsig rode a modest Honda. I gulped the green and orange volume down in greedy delight. Then I looked around for something else to read, and there was nothing. Nothing that interested me. Just the familiar, worthy texts piled up on my desk. Back to the grind. I could have done with this back then. There is a reader, apart from my alternative possible self, whom I would like to please, in that way. A good many readers, in fact. To be upfront about this, I would like to see my book in paperback in London Underground tube trains. Paperback writer. That's the benchmark. I don't have any higher ambitions than that. Then I know that I will have succeeded in my aim of writing a book that pleases a lot. Actually, I got that tube train thing from a wonderful film called Croupier, which came out, I think, in 1998. I could totally recommend it to anyone interested in sort of movies with a philosophical theme. I won't tell you anything about it. You've just got to see it. So, maybe I've got it all wrong. The last thing one should do is aim to please. What Plato called pandering. He crinkled his nose up at that. No, a philosophy book should aim to make you better than you were before, morally or intellectually. It should improve you. Then again, there are those who would argue. Arguments, arguments, arguments. Don't you ever get tired of arguments? That if the improvement is too easy, purchased at too low a cost, then it wasn't really worth it in the first place. The first impression a book should give is to make you thoroughly confused. I don't know my way about. That should be your first thought. Then you have work to do. Work is good for you. It improves you. The deeper your confusion, your sense of being lost and not knowing your way about, the more you will need to rely on professional helpers to sort your confusion out and tell you what to think. They love that, of course. That is not what I want. If this book confuses you, then it's my fault, and I've failed. I want to please, and only that. I have no particular agenda regarding my readers' moral or intellectual well-being. Just get that idea right out of your head. It might help if you relax and try to forget what you think a philosophy book should be. Don't ask me, I don't know. It would please me a lot if this book helped the reader get hooked on philosophy. After that, the reader can go on to tackle the tougher books. When you have an all-consuming interest, you want others to share it too. Why not? Meanwhile, you might have guessed by now that there is another kind of reader lurking in the background, who will not be in the least bit pleased by my book. In the author's imagination, not to put too fine a point on it, a reader of this second kind spontaneously combusts to a pile of sticky ash before reaching the end of chapter 1. There are quite a few of those around, don't ask me for names. Adopting Archbishop Tertullian's remark about heaven and hell, gleefully quoted in a footnote by Nietzsche, in Beyond Good and Evil, I think, the pleasure enjoyed by a reader of the first kind is immeasurably increased by that reader's knowledge of the torment suffered by a reader of the second kind. If words could kill. Which kind of reader are you? Well, if you've got this far. Anyway, I guess that's one difference between me and Pirsig. He's a nicer guy, slightly. If one were being scrupulously honest, at this point the author would like to own up that in addition to pleasing some readers, he would also like to please himself. How few authors do that? Are the rest liars? Is it out of some false sense of decorum? Call it catharsis, a good Greek word. The exercise is cathartic for me. I need this. I have no intention of writing an autobiographical diatribe. How boring would that be? My book is more of a joyful celebration. Not that I have any significant achievements to celebrate, but simply the fact that I have survived. Yes, that's it. I've got it now. A survival tale. But it is also something more. In ancient Greek times, you could learn the skills of rhetoric from someone called a sophist. Pirsig talks about the injustice done by the history of philosophy to the Greek sophists. Sophists wrote demonstration pieces to show off their skills to potential clients. You could say that the sophists were the inventors of advertising. A famous example of a demonstration piece is Encomium of Helen by the sophist Gorgias. Contradicting the popular view of Helen as the treacherously unfaithful wife who sparked the Trojan War, Gorgias uses all his rhetorical skills to make the case that Helen was in fact deserving of the highest praise. It was not what Gorgias thought. Who knows what he really thought? It didn't matter. That wasn't the point. Call this my demonstration piece. Belated, to be sure. Up until a relatively short time ago, like any sophist, you could have found my contact details on the web and hired me. You can't do that now because I'm retired, so you can put your wallet away. Unless you're buying this book, of course. But anyway. However, there is one important difference between me and Gorgias. Two, actually, but we will get to the other difference later. I am no longer practicing as a sophist. Instead, I am posing as a philosopher. No, better. I am perfecting myself as a philosopher. In what follows, I will only say what I think and believe, because that's what a philosopher does. I have nothing to advertise, nothing to sell. I've dabbled in irony, and it doesn't work for me. The truth is all that matters now. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. That's one of 36 chapters or so thereabouts. What can I say? The book is about 40,000 words. You can read it in an afternoon easily. But I hope it's the kind of book that one would like to reread, go back to. Quite a bit of the book comes from these YouTube videos, either from videos I actually gave, like Return of the Evil Demon, or responses to comments that people made on the videos. Some of it comes from blogs. I'd started my first blog in 1999. I'd never even heard of Blogger, although it came, actually, I think it was launched the same year. And then a student of mine used the word blog about 3 years later, referring to what I was doing, and I didn't know what they were talking about. So I've spent a lot of time blogging, and some of those blog posts have found their way into the book as well. I think if I write another book, I want to write another book, I'm going to go about it differently. I mean, this is like drawing a line. This is like looking back at what it all means, asking myself what it all means, what I'm trying to do, raising a question, the question about the elephant in the room. Go to the video with that title and you'll know what I'm talking about. And trying to position myself in a way that I can find some way of tackling it, because I have no idea at the moment. I have some kind of a guess that it's more about the affective rather than the cognitive. That's to say, it isn't about trying to find some truth about things. It's more about changing my mental attitude, which is something else I talked about. I need to adjust my mental attitude. This is what philosophy is really about. Your attitudes are all wrong. My attitudes are all wrong. And it's the hardest thing. It's as hard as hell to recognize that fact about yourself and make a change. Especially when, as a philosopher, you're constantly prompted to reason things. You try to reason everything out. You try to rationalize and justify your views. And it isn't about justification. It's about something deeper. It's about the way you see the world. It's about the things you didn't even think to question. It's about starting points that are way, way, way forward from the real starting point, which you don't even notice, you can't even see, or you've forgotten, once knew it maybe. And I'm looking for that starting point. Anyway, so as I said, I hate videos that set out to advertise things, but the book did come today. It really doesn't matter. As I said, you don't have to think somehow that you're under, what can I say? I'm totally happy for people just to watch these videos, but the book is there. I'm not going to say I need the money because it's such a small amount of money, it doesn't make a difference. It probably pays for my various eBay purchases and new camera equipment and things like that, Or subscription to Netflix. I just joined that recently. As a philosopher, I shouldn't have time to watch Netflix, should I? I should be working all the time. Well, I haven't got the energy to do that. Sometimes you need to relax. Anyway, I guess I'm rambling on now, so I better kind of stop it here. And maybe I'll read another chapter from this soon. Love to get some comments and respond to those. And look at my blog, Glasshouse Philosopher is the one I'm working on at the moment. And there's another one called Philotyper. I will give the URLs in the comments. Thanks.